mic is actually on. It wasn't on. Now it is. I do apologize, guys. Welcome to the Ketchup Core Recap Show. I go by name of Heinz, your friendly neighbor, Ketchup Man. And yeah, a lot of the evidence that was presented today, well, when I say today, I mean day 5, yesterday. It was, listen, it was not what I expected. It was what we saw on the defense opening statements and from the prosecution opening statements, especially from the defense opening statements. I did not expect to see this. So I'm going to be breaking down the defense case in chief as well as the state exam, as well as the state cross-examination rebuttals, because we are now going into the defense presentation of their evidence. And also, if you don't know who I am, like I said, I go by Heinz. I am someone who aspires to be a lawyer one day. So when I approach these trials and watch these trials, I try to look at it from a lens of if I was practicing and basically try to study it so that I can improve, or well, not improve, but just learn the skills by observing. Anyway, enough about me. Let's get into today's show.
But maybe we've spent too long trying to figure all this out with theory.
You're a scientist, Bran.
So listen to me. When I say that love isn't something we invented, it's observable, powerful.
That clip is gonna need some expounding much later on. Okay, after I have completed this recap, I will circle back to it. But definitely, like I was saying, based on what the defense had been prepping for this particular moment, based on the evidence that they have presented from the cross-examination on day 4, when the last witnesses was up, it kind of makes sense that they had called in 5 witnesses on this day. They had recalled Zachary Beckner, who was the 3rd witness on day 1. They have also called in Jonathan Bumler. I don't believe we have even heard of this guy on this trial. Leanne Singley, that was another witness. She was the forensic scientist, pardon me. And Iris Graf, something you should know as well. During the trial, Iris Graf was allowed to monitor the proceedings and observe the proceedings because she is subject to recall. So that presents a whole different kind of worms. Brendan Miller was also called in and recalled at the end to give his testimony, and then Ari Linsky was called as a private investigator. But for this stream, I'm going to be focusing only on Brendan Miller and Leanne Singley. But let's just set the foundation first, because when Zachary Beckner literally went on to testify, it was the continuation of the body cam that he had given. So if you let me share the screen so that you guys can you guys can see can basically see. 1 second. Okay, so this was, here we go. So this was this is what I this is something that I use to just orient me. This is the Heinz report. Anyway, so Zachary Beckner, when he testified, I highlighted the fact. So let me just go into it. Yeah, there we go. I highlighted the fact that that Brendan, that there was he basically, like I said, he was continuing from the audio that wasn't played to the jury from the state's case in chief. So they just played that audio in its entirety. And I thought that this was masterful in so many ways, because they are already attacking the state's credibility by showing how the investigative steps that was taken by the detectives was not up to standard. And that is going to become a theme, I feel, going forward in their presentation of evidence, because it didn't stop here. But anyway, they showed a sympathetic side where Brendan was basically asking on the audio, can I be with her? What's going to happen to my daughter? I'm going to revisit that can I be with her statement later on, because there's a bit more context to that. But nonetheless, they basically they continued on, and there was a part in which the doctor had instructed Brendan to go and wash his hands, and at that point they Beckner testified that no one was instructed to no one had instructed the doctor that, not to tell him to go wash his hands, or instructed Brendan not to wash his hands. And then the body cam was turned off when the detective entered the building, so we don't even know what was said by Brendan. And this signaled to me that there's a possibility that we might get testimony from Brendan. How that is possible? I think he should testify, not just because I feel like every defendant should testify, because that's my own personal feeling, but it's a he said she said kind of case now, with the way that everything is going. But nonetheless, let's move on to the second witness, because Jonathan Baumler, I recorded it as Baumler, so ignore me for that. But Baumler basically confirmed that Christine Banfield on the scene was still breathing, which makes sense why Brendan, I'm bad with names, sorry. Why Brendan was asking whether he could see her, etc., because she was still alive. This wouldn't be someone. It kind of makes sense as well what they're trying to inject here, what they're trying to present. It kind of makes sense, because if you just killed the person, you don't want to be with them, like you. But then again, you can flip it and say maybe he just wanted to finish the job. I mean, who knows? Who knows? But on cross examination, something interesting happened where Baumler confirmed that the officer was not using towels at the scene, and this was pretty much to kind of rebut. Well, at least in my view, anyway, I thought that this particular testimony about the towels was because of the testimony from Iris Graf. I believe it was from that cross-examination in regards to the movement of the weapons from Iris Graf. Day 4, remember that? It was from the movement of the gun, of the Glock that belonged to Brendan. Those because it was being moved and tampered with, they didn't test the weapons. They didn't. There was no forensic analysis of those weapons to see who used it, and this was supposedly the same gun that was used to kill Joe Ryan. So we don't know whether Juliana or Brendan used it. And basically what this cross-examination at least stood out to me was that the officers did not try to wipe it away. Basically, they did not try to, that's what I think anyway. I could be completely wrong, because the towels could be related to something completely different. But yeah, that's what I think. I'm gonna go into Leanne Sigley in a sec. But Harry Litsky, who was the private investigator, I thought this was, I mean, they are going to recall him, so I guess it was probably just to get this basic fact in that he knows a lot about catfishing, he knows about digital forensics, and he was already brought in as an expert. So, and he has also reviewed all the communication, etc. So maybe they're gonna recall him in after Miller's testimony. But I still feel like at this point, after Leanne, the defense was just woeful. I'm going to explain. I'm going to explain a bit more. I'm going to expound more later on why I think that. But let me get into Leanne's testimony now, because there was literally no answer from the state to what she had to testify to, and it was, if I could describe her testimony in one word, it was devastating for a number of reasons, because it just completely removed any ounce of certainty that the state had with this case. It just removed it, in my humble opinion, because the defense were using her to just focus, in my opinion, regarding the state's presentation. Like that was it. And this testimony right here that she gave in regards to the knife analysis was really crucial for that. Let's take a listen.
Identified.
Just for the record, you had marked that as 80A yesterday.
80,
the one with the circle.
80A. Yes, thank you.
That's okay.
Identified as Defense Exhibit 80A. Do you see that?
I do.
And do you recall any analysis that you reviewed relating to that particular area of this knife?
Yeah, this is the area of the knife that is at the base of the blade where the handle meets up, and it is one of the areas that was sampled for DNA analysis.
Okay, and did you observe any findings relating to that?
Yes, this area of the knife had DNA. The DNA of Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan could not be eliminated from that sample.
And were there any others that were excluded from that sample?
I believe Brendan Banfield and Juliana were eliminated.
Okay.
Ouch! That, remember what the prosecution is trying to do. They are literally trying to put Joe Banfield on top of their theory is predicated on Joe was killed first, then Brendan goes on to kill Christine, because that's what Juliana saw. Now we get the idea that, imagine this is a knife. This is the base of the knife, right? That's where you hold. Now, now we get the idea that he was holding the knife to basically do this whole thing. It now becomes, well, what do you believe? The forensics or the credibility of someone that has taken a plea deal? That is, I could not believe what I was hearing at this point. And it was kind of it was so weird because it was so weird because she is not even subject to recall. She was at first. The defense actually decided not to actually make her subject to recall, even though Iris is watching his testimony and is likely going to be recalled to give testimony around this. So it's kind of like a power move if you think about it. But but the most interesting part about her testimony is just how it now reframes why Brendan had to shoot her, had to shoot him, and kill him. And on top of that, it makes complete sense why Juliana would shoot him as well. Because if we cast our mind back to the day one testimony by Juliana, she said Brendan, he's waking up, and then shoots him. If, and this is a big if, I'm going out on a limb, I have no idea, but if it was an all orchestration where they created this whole FetLife account, which I think they did, and this whole Telegram message, which I also think they did because I've seen the data to prove it, what I haven't seen yet is, I mean, I have not seen any evidence, in my opinion. Like, you know what, let me not, I don't like concluding things. I don't like to speak conclusively. Let me not. I will expound when the case is over. I feel icky just trying to speculate it, but there is, but I will say this: there is an absence of the gun that was like a ballistics, etc. So it does, what just happened with that testimony does kind of reframe the visiting of the gun range with Brendan and Juliana. It does reframe that a little bit, because you can't now definitively say that they were practicing their shooting to make sure that they killed this guy based on that evidence presented. So I'm gonna move in now to Brendan Miller's testimony, and this was the one witness that completely undermined the state's case in every kind of way, because he testified, get this, he testified to the Gmail account that was created on the 9th of January 2023. I think it's 2023 just based on deductive reasoning, because Juliana and Juliana testified that both her and Brendan had, began plotting all of this back in July or June, sometime there, and she started working for them in 2021. So I doubt it would have been created in January 2022. So anyway, but most importantly, it was her. It was the Gmail belonging to Juliana, who had created the FedLife account. Let's listen.
The relationship, if any, between the Gmail account that was created on January 9th and the FedLife account that was created on January 17th.
The Gmail account that had been created on January 9th was the email account that was used in the creation of the FedLife account.
Okay. And were you able to determine through your expertise who had control of the device, Christine's devices on that day?
I was able to determine that it was her phone involved in creating that device. I was able to determine that it was her phone used in the creation of that account, based on a variety of returns.
And did you make any conclusions at that time that she had not given up her devices?
I had nothing indicating loss of dominion and control at that time.
Okay, and that's what your finding was as per that particular day, correct?
Yes.
Has that changed?
Yes.
When did that change?
A co-defendant admitted to using the devices.
Okay.
So she admitted to using the device, and the only point of attack that I can think of for the state, the only point of attack is that they have to somehow show that Brendan had access to this Gmail account by Juliana. And the reason why I say that is because I could not believe that they made this argument, if I'm being honest, and you're going to see why. Because on the cross-examination, they went on to argue that you need, that it can't be proven 100% who operates the account. Let's listen.
Yes.
But throughout the context of all of the conversations that you saw occurring, the activity that you saw occurring on Christine's phone, could you conclusively opine as to who was behind the screen?
No.
Okay. And when you wrote this report that Mr. Carroll has referenced, you used the phrasing, Christine did this, Christine did that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And after additional information and further investigation, you would have changed that to Christine's phone or Christine's laptop. Is that correct?
Correct.
Because again, you can't put someone behind the screen in this case, can you?
Not for everything, correct.
Okay. The evidence itself did not change, correct?
Correct. The data did not change.
You did not change the evidence, correct?
No, I did not change the evidence.
You reviewed how many terabytes of data in this case?
A lot.
A lot, okay. And in all of that, there was no ability to reach a conclusion that one person was always operating on FetLife, was always operating on Christine's phone when interacting with the Google account that was created to manipulate the FetLife account. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. There are no artifacts contrary to Juliana Perez Magalhaes' statements regarding the creation of the account, are there?
Not that are coming to mind, no.
Okay. All of that is great, and I see why the state went that way because of the Gmail account being brought in. They had to go in and say, well, you don't know who operated the account, right? you don't know all these things, that etc. However, which is great, but their whole theory, and this is the key point, the state's whole theory is predicated on literally the Juliana testifying to Brendan, instructing her to do all this. So I can see why they're stressing that there is no way to actually tell definitively who operated the account. I can actually see that. But the issue is, if they can't tell who operates the account, and all you have is forensic to show the telegram, etc., and you have the corroborative testimony of someone, then at the same time, this, and I'm gonna go to the redirect now, because this was, in my opinion, I mean, the defense was still all over the place. I'm not gonna lie. Their questions was just, it was confusing from them. They had so many sustained objections pertaining to foundation, and not even able to lay a proper groundwork for the question, for there to at least be a basis for them bringing in certain piece of oral evidence. But what I'm showing here, even that was the case, they still have the evidence for them based on the testimony here.
You want to ask?
What is the likelihood of being able to say someone is using their device with 100% certainty without seeing the person?
That's difficult to do.
Okay. And that's one of the reasons why digital forensics is a valuable tool, correct?
Objection, counsel's testifying.
Oh, overruled, if you can answer.
Yes.
And it's because of, well, the factors that you've described for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. That's how you arrive at conclusions, correct?
Yes.
But they're not, how many times that you've arrived at successful conclusions where you were 100% certain the person who was behind the device?
I would say only in circumstances where somebody admitted that they were using the device.
Okay. Or you had a camera on them or something like that?
Correct, some kind of corroborative factor.
Okay.
And that question, in my opinion, that question was actually brilliant for a number of reasons, and it's because, for one, it now, think about it, before signing the plea deal, before all of that, Juliana had already admitted to having the Google Mail, right? Juxtapose this now with her testimony, with a plea deal, you know, where someone is testifying with a plea deal, rewarded of time served, about the creation of this account. The reason why I said the state's only option, in regards to all of this, the reason why I said that the state's only option now is to prove and show that Brendan had access to Juliana's email. That's the only way. And I find it unlikely because of the time that Juliana started working for them. And on top of that, their relationship escalated pretty quickly. It is no doubt that they moved into the house because of where the items were. There was no doubt that all those things were happening. So it's not like it's all bad for the state. I just think that both sides, based on their performance on this day, they don't, it's as if they don't want to actually prevail with this. It's as if like they're trying to undermine their own case, if that makes sense. But I do think that the defense has a bit of an edge, because it is actually bad to literally have the knife, right? To literally have the knife where have the knife identified. It's bad for the state that the knife that was used to basically murder Christine is actually identified to have belonged to I forgot his name now, Joe Ryan. That's it. To have belonged to Joe Ryan when their entire case is predicated on Brendan actually doing the stabbing. That's really bad. Unless Brendan was using a different knife, which I think is impossible at this point because they have the knife that had the blood on it. It's impossible. However, based on the questions that was made, that was asked by the state, you can argue that they are going to bring back Juliana. That's what it seems like to me. At least for day 6, they're gonna, or day 7, whichever one it is, they are going to bring back Juliana. Also, we must remember that from day 1, you guys may not have seen this on this stream. From, if you're watching on Law and Crime, you may not have seen it. I don't know about Court TV, but this is Brendan's glasses, and is it Brendan's glasses? I hope so. I hope I'm right by that identification, but apparently this belongs to him, and there's blood on it. That was one of the recovered, unless it belongs, no, it wouldn't have belonged to, no. But I didn't hear anything in regards to whose blood that is. I didn't hear any evidence, but this is what they have to contend with, because this is probably the only thing that the state has to tie back to Brendan actually being the one to have done this. But it's really up in the air based on the evidence coming in. But I feel like a lot of what the state was doing was to try and stop a hung jury from happening from day 4, and I feel like they might bring this evidence back in. They might actually recall someone. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure if the witness that testified to this is subject to recall. So I will have to definitely circle back to that point. But to go back to what I was saying in the first in regards to that intro, the reason why I played that intro was because on day 3, on day 1 to 3, I actually didn't know the core central theory on the day 1 to 3 recap. I didn't know the core theory that was presented by the defense. So I was trying to find so many ways to try and justify where they're coming from, and that clip at the time stood out to me because, for 2 reasons. One being that the movie Interstellar turned out to be a time travel movie near the midpoint. At least that's what I got to learn, but it wasn't like that from the beginning. So I thought maybe they're taking a leaf. He doesn't have to watch Interstellar to do it, but the mechanics or the understanding seems the same, to basically go onto a trial and reveal your core theory later on and not give the core theory, because what the defense were theorizing was Juliana took the plea deal and is only speaking in favor of the prosecution. That was it. There was no core theory. And I also picked it because I thought, I also picked that part of the clip in the intro because I thought that Brendan would have killed Christine because he was in love with Juliana. So that's probably the only reason why he done it, because love is measurable. Like this trial here, you can measure that someone might actually take this step to actually commit this murder for that reason. So that was my thinking. But now looking back on all of that, it now it now seems like it's looking like the theory is Juliana was the one to have orchestrated all of this and had basically pretty much had pretty much lied about killing. I pretty much lied about Brendan doing the killing because she didn't want to face culpability for the lead up, for actually orchestrating all this. It's a massive stab in the dark. It's a massive stab in the dark for me, thinking it's not my theory. I'm just trying to make sense of what of what the defense are going for and what it seems like to me that is heading towards. But anyway, I will just leave it there because day 6 is starting in an hour or 30 minutes from now. They're gonna start at 9:30. I am watching this. I am doing a live trial monitoring session with my members, the tastemakers, where I will be notating, notating for the Hines report that I make of every case that I cover. So if you want to join us, feel free. You are definitely welcomed. But yeah, I just thought I'll leave it there. Hopefully, you guys are caught up with all that has been happening with the Brendan Banfield case. Hopefully, I will see you guys tomorrow for the next recap and what has been happening on day 6. Yeah, bye for now. Thank you everyone for tuning in for another Ketchup Court live stream. Make sure that you smash that like button as well as hitting that subscribe button to be notified of our future live streams. We go live regularly, bringing you case updates and recaps of ongoing trials. So make sure you hurry back on the next live stream. We also have more content on the channel that you can binge on. Check out the playlist that we have showcasing all of these contents. Without further, I go by the name of Hines, your friendly neighborhood ketchup man, and I'll see you back in court.